Sometimes things want to work, sometimes they don't. We're just gutting it out here. I'm Ann Vandersteel. This is Steel News. We have a live broadcast coming in from North Carolina. Taylor Kramer, my colleague from Operation Burning Edge, who I had the pleasure of meeting down in the Rio Grande Valley last year when I was with Michael Yon. We were surveying the entire Texas border, or at least we thought we were going to get through all the way to California. But we ran into this young man who helped really deliver the Rio Grande Valley in a way that we would not have experienced, because he is quite the expert down there, and he's become really quite an expert in a lot of things going on in operations all around the country. Most recently doing some stuff with some pretty important people. And now I'm joined because he's part of the team up in North Carolina that has been deployed up there to really provide boots on the ground reporting. Taylor, awesome to see you again. You are incredible, the work you get done. I don't know how you do it, but you're just a dream to work with.
Well, thank you, Ann. So I just bounced here from the Arizona border because God was calling me. I felt I had to be here, and through
Yeah.
through awesome context and Burning Edge, yeah, everything came together. So
You know what? It's great. We got a chance to meet you last summer and then have you join us down in Central America. And since then, you have put your wings on and you have become, I mean, look, why don't you just kind of give your resume of some of the people you've worked with recently? Because it's really quite remarkable.
well, I have okay, so I have two documentaries I'm in coming out. The OMG documentary on the border, as well as the Ryan Matta JJ Carroll documentary, the hashtag invasion. They just did the hashtag traffic. Now they're doing the invasion. So they have their own website, and then the OMG one will be on Tucker Carlson Network.
Well, see, the OMG one will be on the Tucker Carlson network. You went from nobody knew who you were with maybe 6 Twitter followers to you're on Tucker Carlson in less than a year. Man, that is unbelievable.
It really is. I had maybe about, I'm getting no views on my Rumble and everything else. Then you guys come down, and I can't thank you enough. You guys really
No, man,
really
it's
helped
all
out.
you.
So it's
It's
amazing. It's
all
amazing what can
you.
happen.
It's all you. It's all you, brother. We're just so happy to know you and work with you. You're the real deal, and you are a great soul and a good spirit. But let's get to the matter at hand, because you're in North Carolina, and the picture just keeps getting more and more grim. My ex profile is putting up some unbelievable stuff that people are calling me and bringing me firsthand information of what they're seeing and what they're experiencing. I want to bring this up because I just put this post up on X, and frankly, it is highly, highly disturbing. The fact that we've got people like Dr. Chris Martenson putting out information like this is seriously concerning. Now, let's just see if we can get that picture up here. All right, this is coming from Chris Martenson. I think we should talk about this really quickly before we talk about more on the ground. This needs to go far and wide to put pressure on the government to do the right thing and save lives. We can all admit, right, Taylor, we haven't seen really much of the government since you've been there, and none of my sources have seen much of the government. The rumor that we're hearing is lithium is a big deal in North Carolina. And of course, BlackRock has done a deal with the state of North Carolina for lithium. There's a lot of different players involved in this, but the most disturbing post I think I've seen to date is this, and this comes from Chris Martenson, from a member of his Peak Prosperity team, who sent him a private message. And he says, I can't post this online because it's not quite public yet, but government officials had a town meeting with all of the residents of Chimney Rock, which is a town, by the way, which has now been wiped off the map, and basically told the people of Chimney Rock the town was being bulldozed, bodies and all, and the land was being seized by the federal government. They would not be able to move back, and basically their homes, the ones that were standing, were no longer theirs, and the federal government owned it all. I don't know what crazy play for land this is, but there's a lot of conspiracy about lithium mines. And let me just tell you, as someone who lives in Charlotte and has friends who live in the area of Western North Carolina, they are not being helped, and this is actually being a stand-down operation by the federal government. Of course, Chris says, what the heck? That's quite disturbing. Is this firsthand, secondhand, or more distant info? The source says, our friend owns an Airbnb in Chimney Rock. They had a town meeting yesterday, and someone from the federal government told them all of those things in the town meeting, but doesn't want the information getting out. Also, they are not picking up the bodies. The stench of bodies everywhere is insane, and for some reason, the government doesn't want to pick up the bodies. One pastor of a local church was going to order to door delivering water, and they changed their delivery request to body bags because so many of the homes that they've gone to have needed body bags. We're going to try to keep the body count. They're not picking up the bodies. They don't want to identify the bodies, and they're just leaving them to rot in the streets. So the post goes on, but it also talks about all the truckers who've had their tires slashed, etc. Taylor, these reports are coming out all over the place. And of course, TikTok and Instagram and X have been a buzz about the lithium deposits. I'm just asking from your perspective, because you've been on the ground now, you've been around flight crews, you've been around emergency people, public officials. What are you hearing? Is any of this resonating with you in terms of a land grab by the federal government?
So, I mean, if you look at what's happened in the past, there's a place called Cherryville, I believe, near King Mountain. Greg Reese did the Reese report. I think that came out today.
Hmm.
Um, so if you're tracking on that, yes, all this stuff is making sense. It seems like another Maui situation. Now, what I've seen personally with my own eyes, I have not seen that yet. This is my first full day on the ground. I will
Hmm.
be on the Tennessee border. I'll be meeting hopefully with a whole bunch of people tomorrow, fire departments, police, and stuff like that, and I'll be able to get more. One thing though, one of the towns that was affected really bad was Spruce Pine. If you remember, we talked about that they found 60 bodies just in the trees of spruce pine,
Yeah,
and there is silica quartz there, and silica quartz is something they use for semiconductors.
right.
So there's more than just the lithium as well. So from what we're tracking, the and this is very early on, but some of the worst hit places that are getting the least amount of help have the minerals there. So
Yeah, and
that does make sense. It does track.
and that's highly disturbing. Now, is anybody, I mean, were the residents that lived, from your knowledge, aware of what was beneath their feet? Did they have an inkling or an idea about any of the minerals that were, lying underneath? Because real estate values there, by the way, we had thought maybe we should move out of Florida, buy a farm up there to try and hunker down and get through this. And we were really looking in Marshall and some of those areas very seriously. We never pulled the trigger, but we watched the real estate values start to tank. And that didn't make any sense because it's beautiful land up there. We're like, why would, in the conditions, and everybody knows we're going into this war/famine, why wouldn't you want to go be around fellow patriots? Because that's patriot country up there. Why do you think
Mm.
the real estate values were tanking?
Yeah, I mean, it's odd, and I'll have to tell you, this is an amazing place. You know, the Smoky Mountains and everything. I absolutely love the people out here are just
Mhm.
phenomenal. And from what I'm seeing, a lot of destruction. The places that have road access are doing just fine because there's a lot of help, and it's majority. I'd say 90% of what I'm seeing is civilians helping other civilians, not government involvement. We've seen a lot of government aircraft. I have seen Red Cross in Asheville. Apparently, FEMA has been in Asheville since Sunday. I've yet to see any FEMA in Asheville. I was all over there today. We're also trying to track a story on a bus full of illegals that were dropped off days before the storm. Talked to some federal marshals, and they gave me the very "I can't speak on that," standard answer.
Wow. Okay. Now let's talk about body counts because I'm talking with people who, spoke to a sheriff firsthand, and it's a friend. So it's not just, some random dude he himself has pulled 1,200 bodies out of rivers and roads and put them in bags himself. This is one individual. Um, are you hearing, catastrophic numbers like this? What's the whisper, and what are you hearing legitimately?
Yeah, the whisper is just basically, you're finding bodies here or there in the trees. I think the real thing is the information is so scattered right now, and I'm getting so many contacts and so much information, and we're getting the fire hose of information, which is great, but it's going to take some time to. I'm going to have to go to these places physically and confirm
Yeah.
these things, so it's going to take some time. And so from there, I will be with emergency rescue crews tomorrow, and I should have a much better idea of what's going on.
Now, is the sentiment from the public that the emergency rescue crews are doing everything they possibly can, or are they feeling abandoned by their local, fire and rescue departments?
Local, as far as I'm concerned, like I'm gonna meet up with some guys on the Tennessee board tomorrow, and they're working day and night. They're doing amazing stuff. They got landing zones set up. They are doing as much resupply as possible. I'm working with what they're calling the Lincoln County Air Force, which is the small craft airport in Lincoln County. They're doing amazing work out there. You can see it on X. I interviewed Spencer Radke, who's running that operation, and it is phenomenal. And what I've seen here from all the people I've seen, the networks that were created. These people created these networks long ago for situations just like this, and it's running smoother than the government could ever do. So I'll
Well,
just
that's
say this, that
encouraging.
it gives me a lot of hope, and I've never been more proud to be an American to see what we can do, and we don't need our government to do it.
Amen. I've been saying that this is our moment to shine. This is our seminal moment as country men and women to come together and be the government and show the feds that we don't need them. We've never needed them. And when we did need them, they didn't show up. So it is up to us. It has always been up to us. And we've always been, the sovereigns of our domain. And it's up to us to take care of our fellow man in our communities. And that's what I think people are learning. But, a disaster like this, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer, who is in the Corners region of East Tennessee, North Carolina, um, Georgia, and Virginia, said that it looked like some kind of an asteroid. There was some kind of an effect in the early 1900s in Russia where an asteroid exploded up in the atmosphere and it literally flattened the trees out in 360 degrees. And I had a guest on today who talked about how it looked like trees were ripped up, big hardwood trees ripped right out of the ground and twisted and laid down. What could cause that? Has anybody speculated about this weather phenomena? Are they talking about weather manipulation or modification? What's the buzz on that?
Oh, well, this area is very, very awake, and the number one thing they're saying is it's absolutely weather mod. If you track the storms, it's I've been in a storm that just didn't feel organic. There's something to it. I was in a storm where it went from 0 mile an hour winds to 60 mile an hour winds with no breeze in between. Yeah, it's very, very weird stuff. So everybody out here knows about cloud seeding. They know about weather mod. That's half the conversations I'm hearing, and everybody's saying this is not normal. What's happening here is not normal, and it's not, because this far inland, we're not only are we so far inland in North Carolina, we also have a mountain range, which we all know will block precipitation, and that's not what happened. I mean, it is very, very unusual.
So, what is the feeling in terms of, the future for access to food, to water, to gasoline? I'm hearing Asheville is not going to have clean water for 30 days, and that's not even the brunt of it. You've got looting going on. You have illegal aliens running around Asheville. We had reports today of, I don't want to put this gentleman's name on blast, but you know who he is. He flew these 6 children that had whose parents died, and they rescued the kids to find out they'd been raped by illegal aliens. What is the mood of the people on the ground? Are people starting to get scared looking at other people they don't recognize? And, are they starting to take more of a defensive posture?
That's not what I'm seeing at all. The people have created their structures here. They have their communities, and all I'm
Good.
seeing is teamwork, and everybody's working together. That is all I'm seeing. Now, again, I've only been here for under 48 hours, so
Right.
tomorrow I will really get to see more of it. But yes, there is reports of looting. There's reports of people with guns in the street. I will be hopefully checking out some bunk houses where people say, flop houses where the illegal aliens have been staying. So, and another thing we need to do is we need to find the mayor of Asheville, because she's missing in action. She's nowhere to be found.
Really?
Well, she's not taking any press conferences. The big concern I have, and I talked to some good deputies that have been helping people out, and I asked, so who's in charge here? And they just kind of did a shrug, and they have their, subordinates and everything, or they have their little structure there. But as far as a task force, as far as, fire, police, social workers, the whole shebang, there is no coordinated effort that we're seeing at this point. We're not seeing the press conferences. We're not seeing the governor of North Carolina come out and do stuff. We're not seeing any of that. I saw very little. I saw local news, and I saw maybe one national outlet, and that's it. That's the only media coverage I've seen out here.
And the Joe Biden flyby, I know that grounded flight operations. There was a temporary restriction from flights of any kind, so that basically hampered the rescue and recovery efforts. What was the mood for the
Correct.
people on the ground? Did they feel like they got served when Joe Biden went by? Did that make them feel better? I mean, what was the take on that?
Oh, well, you can imagine what the take on that was. It's not even anger, it's not even that, it's just nobody cares. I mean, they're just
Yeah.
done with it, they're sick of it. So they had, Marine One fly by with the Ospreys and everything else. So that's confirmed, yeah, Joe Biden or, Marine at least Marine One was in the area. Whoever's flying in there now, we may never know. But either way, yeah, so pretty much all the stuff that we're hearing is seems to be true. But a lot of stuff is up in the air, and I will be able to confirm when I am boots on the ground in, said town. So for
Any
right
co
now,
Go
yes,
ahead, I'm sorry.
no, just for right now, I think the biggest things is definitely spruce pine. We got to look at the places that are most affected and getting the least help. There's something, possibly going on there. So we need to
Yeah.
map that out and figure out where that is and maybe overlay that with minerals or whatever else may be in that town.
Yeah, I think if this could take a turn for the worse, frankly, if the people figure out that the federal government might be trying to steal the land. If in fact these reports that we're getting are true, that is the federal government again declaring war on the people, just like they did during COVID when they mandated the bioweapons. I'm quite curious to see what the mood and the tenor of the people is as we start to learn what the real motivation is here and why they've been so lackadaisical with their federal response, right? It's quite disturbing on many levels. Um,
Absolutely. That's why we need journalists out here. That's why we need good information out here so people aren't getting a bunch of, misinform or like, just being getting cross information and conflation and everything else. So we need to come together to get, one good story so that way we can get it out to the people. They can assemble, they can go to their city halls, they can, voice their opinion, and we can try and get, their land back or whatever may be happening.
so with the lack
We can't just expose it. We have to follow through and help these people out.
100%. And with a lack of communications, it's quite difficult to get real-time information, which was the reason that Operation Burning Edge, has had somebody donate the use of a plane. We've got to fund the fuel ourselves, but it will allow us to get aerial views. We've got teammates that are coming out with drones that have thermal drones, so we can look for bodies and heat signatures of people that might be stranded or unable to get out of where they are. So we've got more people coming into the area. These are former special forces too, by the way, that are working with us that are going to bring this intel together so we can provide a better package for everybody, which is quite exciting. In terms of communications, would you consider perhaps even a letter campaign? If you remember how we used to drop leaflets from the skies when we wanted to drop propaganda on our enemies, perhaps maybe that might be a positive way to do information dissemination. Low and slow helicopters dropping out, leaflets so that people know what's going on, where they can, coordinates where they can get to for help if they can hike there or get a car there or whatever. If you can't get an LZ or landing zone, perhaps people need, tools and food and whatever. Is there any sort of information like that being put together to maybe, help people get more readily available information via leaflet drops?
That could absolutely be an idea. I think the number one thing that people in the towns are cut off need to know is that there are people that we do care about them, and we're going to try and get to them as soon as possible. Because the number one thing you need to survive isn't food or water; it's hope. It's hope that something is, somebody's going to come. So
Yeah.
I'd say that's number one priority right now is getting people safe, getting people to dry ground, and then from there we can unify and figure out what's really going on, and and stand together with this.
Yeah. Well, Taylor, I appreciate your time. I know you need to get some sleep. You've got an early morning tomorrow. I look forward to catching up with you this weekend. I'm speaking at a veterans event. Otherwise, I would be there tomorrow. But it's a very lovely lady who raises money for service dogs for veterans who have been permanently disabled, and this is her life's work. She's an incredibly generous and gracious lady, and she's asked me to speak at her event, and I've been promising her for a year. So I really don't have the heart to cancel on her. But we have another storm coming. And oddly enough, it's tracking the exact same way. And I think that storm is supposed to graze the west coast of Florida again on Sunday. I guess as long as their cloud seeding science is, super accurate, I don't have to worry about getting hit here so much. But if it's not that accurate, we don't know. We could still be sustaining damage here. So I might get a tailwind on the way to North Carolina as we drive up there. But look forward to seeing you for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me on, Ann.
You're welcome. Taylor, thank you for being here. Get a good night's sleep. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Bye bye. All right, that's just a quick wrap here. I just wanted to have you guys, meet Taylor if you hadn't already met him. He's absolutely fantastic. You can follow him at RGV Truth One, RGV for Rio Grande Valley, RGV Truth One on X. Please do follow him. Um, he's absolutely fantastic. He is boots on the ground everywhere, and he's done some incredible things in the short amount of time I've known him. And he's really truly civic minded. So he cares about the people and he knows where to go. He's got a great nose for the sources to go get real on the ground, real time information. So we're going to keep following him, and you can expect to see him pop up on a lot of different shows because he's going to be highly in demand. I understand my friend Pete Santilli is on his way down there. So Pete will be joining, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of others. Again, it's going to be the citizen journalists, the independents that provide you the real information because clearly the government isn't going to, and the mainstream media don't care. That's a wrap for tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a good evening, everybody.